Welcome again to day 2 of SEC Tip-Off. We're joined by Commissioner Greg Sankey, and he'll be introducing the coaches. Commissioner?
Good morning. Ferris Bueller movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, there's a great line that says, life moves pretty quickly. So Stephen Pearl has been living the life moves pretty quickly part of that movie. Last December, he and his wife, Brittany, welcomed an infant daughter, Lainey. She'll turn 1 this December. It's one of those big steps in life, and just a few weeks ago, he moved into the head coaching role at Auburn University. And as he enters his first season as head coach at Auburn, he's well prepared, having spent 17 seasons as part of SEC basketball, 5 as a student athlete at the University of Tennessee, and 11, the last 11, as an assistant coach at Auburn. As a player, a number of highlights, but one of the most significant highlights came as a junior when he was part of a roster and a playing rotation that helped Tennessee's team advance to the Elite Eight. That was back in 2010 during his time as an assistant coach at Auburn. Auburn's made 2 Final Four appearances. He served as Auburn's defensive coordinator during the last 2 seasons and took the lead in recruiting future All-Americans and current NBA players Janai Broome and Walker Kessler. An indication of the respect that Stephen has earned as an assistant coach was clear when all 12 of Auburn's players opted to remain with the program during a time of transition. Welcome to the stage our first head coach of the day, Stephen Pearl from Auburn University.
Good morning. Thank you guys all for being here. First, I want to take a moment and thank Commissioner Sankey and Garth Blissman. It's quite a feat, considering where the SEC was when I was a player. You know, it was very top-heavy. You would get 4 teams into the NCAA tournament every year, and to really watch the progression and grow from my time at Auburn, it went from a league that, you know, got 3 teams in 2013, I think, to obviously having the greatest season in the history of college basketball, the best conference in the history of college basketball, and obviously, you know, 2 teams in the Final Four and a national champion in Florida. So their leadership has obviously taken this conference to different heights. I want to thank John Cohen and Janan Paul and the rest of our administrative team at Auburn and our leadership at Auburn University for giving me this allowing me to have this honor of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to lead, you know, this proud program. The staff is the reason why, you know, we're still here. We have one of the, if not the greatest staff in college basketball. It's a staff that has been together for, you know, close to 8 years almost, a majority of it. And it's a staff that's won 5 SEC championships, been to 2 Final Fours, and since 2014 we've graduated 48 student athletes, which is unheard of in this time of the transfer portal. And we're incredibly proud of that, and, you know, that's one of our goals moving forward, is to continue to grow that number. You know, these first 3 weeks have been drinking out of a fire hose, but for me, I've had the fortune of watching BP do this for 30 years, and the day-to-day stuff really didn't surprise me. I knew what I was getting into. Obviously, with a change like this, the first thing that goes to your mind is your players, and, you know, what's best for them. And for all 12 of our young men on scholarship to ultimately decide to stay at Auburn, it's a testament to Auburn and how special of a place it is. It's a testament to their teammates and the relationship that they've, you know, really garnered together this summer. It's a testament to our staff and the relationships they have with those players in the recruiting process. So, you know, I don't know if any of you have seen, but our non-conference schedule is it's an interesting one, to say the least. But our guys came to Auburn knowing that this was what they were stepping into, and they're incredibly excited about the opportunity. They're looking forward to the opportunity to show that, you know, Auburn is still a team to be reckoned with. And, you know, it's a group that has continuously gotten better every single week. The energy in practice has been phenomenal, and they're really tired of beating up on each other. So I know they're really looking forward tonight to playing another high major opponent in Oklahoma State. So Very busy day for the Auburn Tigers, but an exciting one. Excited for those three young men to be here. Keyshawn Murphy is a kid that's been playing in the SEC for quite a while now, and for him to be at his first SEC media days, I'm just so proud of him and the growth that he's shown. He's a recent graduate of Mississippi State, so I'm really proud of Murph. Todd Pettiford obviously had a breakout season last year on if not the best team in college basketball for most of the year. He's gonna have a different role this year. He's gonna have a target on his back every single night, and he's gonna have people gunning for him. So for him to be able to trust his teammates and lead a team of 10 new players, he's got an unbelievable opportunity in front of him to show how much he's grown as a leader, but also as a player. And then Keyshawn Hall, the Big 12 leading scorer last year. He sees the headlines. We can. Without saying anything, he's hungry. He's ready to go. So I'm really proud of Keyshawn Hall. He came here wanting to grow as a defender, as a leader, and as a winner, and just really excited for what this group has to offer. So I'm proud that those guys are standing next to me today. And with that being said, we'll take any questions.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. Tommy and Molly will get a mic to you. We'll start right here in the front row.
Justin Ferguson, Auburn Observer. Stephen, speaking of Keyshawn Hall, can you just discuss kind of how unique of a scorer he is compared to maybe some of the other guys y'all have had at the four these last few years, just the variety of skills he's got?
Yeah, I mean, you look at historically what we've had at that position, right? You look at Chumo Kiki, you look at JT Thor, you look at Jabari Smith, and even Janai Broom to an extent when he slid over to play some four last year. Like, Keyshawn's got a mold of all those guys as far as his ability to shoot the ball. I would say the one area that Keyshawn is probably ahead of all those guys is his ability to put the ball on the floor, right? He can really put the ball on the floor and get to the rim and create contact and score through contact, right? He's really quick and really versatile, but I think he's an interesting combination of all four of those guys and his ability to score the ball, right? I give him grief because I call him conference key, because in conference play last year, what'd you shoot, like 40% from three? All right, well, we need conference key to show up, and he's been showing that as of late. He's a guy that's going to get to the foul line. He does a really good job of drawing contact and drawing fouls, similar to like what Janai would do. Shoots a really good percentage from the free throw line. So he's very versatile. If you put a smaller guy on him, he's going to be able to post him up, right? If you put a bigger guy on him, he's just going to drive right around you. So his ability to play both 3 and 4 is something that we're going to work with this year, and obviously just excited for the different options that he gives us on the offensive end to be able to put him in situations to be successful.
Coach, we'll go over here on our left, on the far out.
Taylor Gorn, The Barn. With there being so many new faces on this roster this year, how much have you seen the chemistry grow since all of your players got on campus?
Yeah, since June 1st, we spent, obviously we had 3 freshmen and a JUCO coming in, and then from the Sweet 16 weekend all the way up until June 1st, we were recruiting this roster. We get done recruiting the roster like right around May 28th when Filip Jovic commits to us, and then those guys are together for 8 weeks from June 1 until August. So I've been really impressed just to watch their bond and just their unity as a unit. They knew coming in, Taylor, that it was going to be there was going to be somebody at every position that they had to compete with. Like, that's what they signed up for. They signed up to play against really good competition and really good players to not only help the team win, but to help them grow as an individual. So to watch them be able to compete at a high level, knowing how much they all hate to lose, but also to see them grow in their friendships with each other has obviously been really positive, and I think it's a big reason why they all ultimately decide to stay. So, proud of the kids and their chemistry together. One of the unique things about what happened in September, we had to go through some adversity way sooner than 99% of college basketball teams had to this year. A lot of teams won't experience any adversity until November or December based on their schedule, right? When they play at Houston and they get punched in the mouth in the first 5 possessions, right? We had to go through adversity together in September. That's going to help this group stay close and stay tight-knit and stay together, which I think is, a blessing in disguise considering what happened with BP stepping down. So to see them stay together through a difficult situation gives me a lot of hope and a lot of, encouragement for the future.
Coach, we'll go back over here on our right, second row.
Stephen, when you talk about Auburn big men of the last few years, obviously it's really big shoes to fill with All-Americans. What did you guys see out of Murph in terms of his skill set that you thought would be a good fit for this team, but also be a good fit for a system that you've mentioned will be a little bit different than it's been the last few seasons?
Yeah, Nathan, I don't know if you saw Murph in high school, but like Murph was a shooter in high school, like he was a guard, and he had guard skill set. And you've been to some practices, you've seen some of the things that he's able to do when he puts the ball on the floor. And he showed in scrimmage on, what was that, Saturday. He made 3 threes, I think, in our scrimmage. He's shown the ability to stretch the floor and really make the defense respect him out there. So I'm really excited for Murph because, while he was really effective at Mississippi State, I think, considering what our fives do in our system, we allowed Walker Kessler to shoot threes. He shot 20%. Big reason for that is because he was the National Defensive Player of the Year. Janai Broom shot a lot of threes, shot 29% while he was at Auburn. He's one of the best players in college basketball. So, we allow our guys the confidence and the freedom to be able to step out and spread it because, if they give the effort and the energy on the defensive end, we're going to allow those guys to have a lot more freedom on the offensive end. And I think Murph, seeing that was a big reason why when he ultimately got into the portal, he decided to come to Auburn because of what we let our 4s and 5s do from an offensive standpoint, which is what I think he's always had the skill set and he's really excited to show moving forward.
Okay, we're going to go right here in the center. If you can pass the mic down to him.
Hey, Coach, Daryl Dapprich, Locked on Auburn. Obviously, the most influential coach that you've had is probably your father, but I'm interested to know what other coaches you've come across in your life that has made an impact on you with style, scheme, that have kind of got to this point where you are right now.
Daryl, when I was at Tennessee, Steve Forbes at Wake Forest was a coach that was our, one of our assistant coaches, and he was really, big for me. And Jason Shea, who was a head coach at ETSU, they're both at Wake Forest now. Those 2 guys were, my lead assistants when I was in college, and they helped me a ton. And they're the ones that really got me excited about coaching because I watched how they game planned. And those 2, when it came to scouting reports, were as detailed as anyone I've ever been around. And that got me really excited about the prospect of getting ready for opponents and game planning and personnel and teaching points and offensive and defensive schemes. So watching those guys, the player, was really impactful. But then, obviously, once we got to Auburn, Todd Golden was a director of operations, but he was the one that brought analytics into our program when we first got to Auburn. And that was when Ken Pom was obviously really one of the only analytically, driven databases out there. Now there's 57 of them. So, it's been a mold of some of my assistants from Tennessee, but then Todd had a really big impact on me as an assistant when he was at Auburn. But then, it's pretty well documented that we've stayed in touch ever since he left Auburn to go to San Francisco. And then, BP really helped him get that job at Florida. I think he might regret that now because Todd obviously has turned into one hell of a head coach, and they kicked our ass last year a couple times. So Todd and Coach Forbes and Coach Shea and some of those guys have really been influential in me wanting to become a coach and obviously continue to continue on this journey. And then obviously BP, one of the reasons why I believe I'm ready for this opportunity is because I've watched him. I don't think there's anyone better in the history of the game as far as rebuilding programs. And you've seen the things that he does in Auburn. It's everything outside of basketball that he's elite at, in addition to being a great coach, right? All those things I think are really important when it comes to, especially a place like Auburn, who really loves people that do that. So I think that's been a huge advantage for me to kind of watch and have a front row seat to a masterclass of rebuilding a program. And I think, with 10 new guys, it's not a rebuild, but obviously, we got our work cut out for us. And we got to do a lot of the same things that BP did to get Auburn to where it is today to continue and sustain that success.
We'll take one final question in the center, in the back.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. Coach, I feel like someone should tell Nicolay High School about this moment.
That's crazy.
What was your initial conversation like with your father when you knew he was going to step down, you were going to get this job? And what was that emotion like to step into those shoes?
So BP and I have been having hypothetical conversations about, his departure for years now. You text me asking me that all the time. Was he going to be a senator? Is he going to TV? So it's something that we've been talking about for years, right? And he really didn't get to a point where he felt like this was time until 2 weeks leading up to the decision that he made on the 21st. He made, John Cohen and a couple of our administrators aware that he was going to let them know on the 21st, the day before practice, that he was either going to stay or he was going to go. And it allowed them to have the opportunity to plan for both scenarios. BP coming back as the head coach, but also BP stepping aside and what we're going to do with that. in addition to that, BP and John 3 years ago, BP told him, like, listen, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. So John has been actively, in his mind, getting prepared for this for 3 years now and going through all the different options of, do I bring in an outside coaching staff? Do I bring in a big name guy? Or, he watched this grow, does the staff grow as a unit and stay together and not go chasing other assistant jobs, not go chasing other head coaching jobs, and he ultimately felt like the staff had earned the right and the opportunity to continue to move this thing forward. As far as when it hit me, it didn't hit me until I showed up at the gym at Neville Arena when BP was filming his goodbye video, and John pulled me aside with Janae and was like, hey, you're the guy. So then I was like, oh, all right, here we go. So it all happened, really fast. But I'm ready because I've spent 38 years watching him do this at a very, very high level.
Mr. Pearl, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, guys.